We can call these meetings all day long. If y'all don't come out, there's no point in having them. So the reason we're here is because y'all are here. I want you to know that. I have the utmost respect for you coming out of your home and taking the time out of your life to come out here. So I know you don't know me. I'm from Texas. I am your neighbor now. We've lived here since January. I've had the land for 10 years, but only just now getting to come live here, and we're really, really enjoying it. Really enjoy being here, so we're your neighbors now. And there's not much I can tell you about myself that you need to know other than I'm just a person just like y'all. I'm nobody special. I don't have a degree. There's no initials after my name. I'm just a guy who cares about his country and sees what's going on. A guy who reads a lot and has become concerned with what's happening. So before we get started, we are going to talk about the financial situation. But I have a couple of questions I'd like to ask. Cecily, take us to the next slide. Who wants to see democracy restored in America? Anybody? We have anybody who wants to see democracy restored? How about, does anyone here tonight believe they have the constitutional right to free assembly and freedom of speech? Does anyone here tonight, now this would be a silly question in Texas, and I am new to Arkansas, but does anyone here tonight believe they have the constitutional right to keep and bear arms? Is there anyone that feels that way? Good. I was hoping you'd say that, because if you didn't, this would be a real short speech. But you did, so let's go on. Let's talk about democracy. It cannot be restored in America. It's not possible, and I can prove it. You know why? Because we're not a democracy. You said the pledge tonight. Did you say to the democracy for which it stands? No, you said to the republic for which it stands. And there is a difference. You will not find the word democracy in the Declaration of Independence, in the Articles of Confederation, or in our U.S. Constitution. It doesn't exist anywhere there. You'll find the word republic. But guess where you will find the word democracy? Leslie? I'll tell you where. In the Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx, where it says establishing democracy is the first step. Why is it all we hear on our television, from our media, from our teachers, from our government, and yes, even our clergy, about democracy in America? Every administration, I don't care if it's Republican, Democrat, whatever, they talk about restoring democracy and spreading democracy throughout the region. So let's talk about it. Republic, democracy, republic, democracy. There's a lot of talk about it. Let's define it. In a democracy, everybody gets to vote, and whoever has the most votes, they win. Right? That sounds good. Until you're the only one that votes no. Anybody here own land? Well, what if the people of the city say, you know what, we don't have any land. We want to vote to use this man's land to grow our crops and vegetables and raise our cows and not compensate. Now you get to vote for this democracy. Everybody say yes, we want his land. You say no, and the majority would win. And now it's been legal to violate your rights. You see what democracy is? In a democracy, it can be made legal to violate individual rights. Think about it. But democracy sounds good until you analyze it. Now, republic, what's that? It's rule of law. It says the people can vote on what they want to vote on, but they can't make a vote that would violate another individual's right. It cannot be made illegal. You cannot remove the consequences for violating the right in a republic. That's what rule of law means. The law says protect their rights. Our federal government's supposed to do three things: protect our rights and liberties, defend our borders, and give us sound money. They're not doing any of those things. They're not doing those three things. It's it in the Constitution. And they can't even manage that, but they can do everything else, like take over our education, our medical and auto industry, and everything like that. We're going to get into that. So, next slide. So it's important to understand that democracy can make it legal to violate your rights. And in the republic, you're protected. Now I ask you again, who wants to restore democracy in America? Next slide. Well, I hope not. So let's talk about constitutional rights. Cecily, you never had them. You're never going to have constitutional rights. You have individual human rights that were given to you by your Creator. The moment you give in to this piece of paper is what give you your rights. You give in to the idea that another piece of paper can take them away. You see, long before America was discovered, humans had rights. Every living creature on God's planet has the right to defend itself. Even the tiniest little bunny, little cottontail, will turn and try to defend itself right before it dies. But it has the right to defend itself, and so do we. They don't come from a piece of paper. They come from God. And if you give into the idea, anyone who talks about constitutional rights is saying that somehow they're between you and God. Right? That's not possible. It's God, us, and the government in that order. So let's go on to the next. Your rights are inherent to you. What does that mean, inherent? It means they're a part of you, like my blue eyes. They were created the day I was born, and they'll be gone when I die. They're inherent. Inherent, you cannot give away your rights. No one can take your rights away from you. They're like your thoughts or your dreams. They're born with you and they die with you. When you go to bed at night, you put earplugs in your ears because you're afraid somebody's going to take your dreams or your thoughts? Of course not. They can't. It's the same with your rights. They can't be taken. If you have a bad nightmare one night, and you put that nightmare in a bag and go, here, you're brave with me. You take this. Of course not. They're a part of you. They're inherent to you, just like your right. Just like your rights. So the only thing that can happen to your rights is they can be violated. You see, people in China have the right to life. What they don't have is a government that respects that right. The women in the Middle East have a right to their body. But what they don't have is a government that respects that. So when people say, they're taking our rights away, no, they're not. That's an impossible thing to do. What is happening is your rights are being violated. It's important that you understand the difference between being able to take away your rights, which can't be done, because when you start making the connection that, hey, they're being violated, it takes on a whole new meaning. Nobody likes being violated. So, next slide, please. Does anyone have any questions about rights and how they're a part of it? So I'd like to make an analogy now before we move on to the financial deal. Analogy being, if we talk about we the people in government, and we want to make the analogy of the employers and the employees, who's the employer and who's the employee? We the people, the employees? No, who are we? We're the employers. So who's the government? Correct. So see, we're the employers, they're the employees. Now, if I want to make the analogy of we the people in government and parents and children, well, who's the parents? Is it the government or we the people? Cecily? Of course. We're the parents and they're the children. Now, I'm making this analogy because for the rest of the evening, when you hear me say parents and children, I want you to know that I'm not talking about you and your kids or me and our kids. I'm talking about we the people and the government. Because things become a lot clearer and the upside downness of our world becomes a lot clearer when you think in terms of parent and children as opposed to we the people and government. So, let's move on.